So, a friend of mine found this ad for a collection of vintage mini liquor bottles on Facebook, and I live a lot closer to the person who's getting rid of them, so I went and picked them up for my friend. I thought it was a pretty interesting collection and wanted to shoot each bottle to share with you all and also the guy who collected them. So, even after giving them away, he could still go back and visit them again. Joining me on the phone is Keith, who put this collection together. Thanks for chatting with me today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I guess this is the first time I've seen a collection like this. Is this a common hobby? Do a lot of people do this, or was this a thing from back when you were putting it together?
Well, we started the collection. My first wife and I started the collection back in probably 1977 or so, primarily because her dad was a collector. I think we started out collecting bottles just to give to him, and we never gave them away. We just kept them as we went along.
Well, it's a very interesting collection. There's lots of cool little bottles. Do you have a favorite?
I do not. I can't honestly say that I have a favorite at all. I think the little soccer ball was kind of cool. I thought the one from Spain was kind of nice. No, I can't honestly say I really have a favorite, because to me it was just something that we were sitting on the back of our bar back in the day.
And you said these have been in storage for a long time. Tell me more about that.
Well, in 1984, late 84, we decided to move from Burnsville, Minnesota to Lakeville, Minnesota. We were building a house out there. So we had to pack them all up for the move when we finally got to the point of moving in. And they had never been unpacked since then, not until about a year ago, when Deb and I decided to go through some items and see if we really wanted them or needed them. And that was one of the collections of items that we decided that we really didn't need. We don't really have any place to display them. I suppose we could have found an area if we were really that interested in them, but to be honest, the interest had just dropped off by then.
Where did you get all of these bottles? You said you traveled a lot?
Well, I worked for the airlines back then, for North Central Airlines in Minnesota. This was the original North Central Airlines, and who became Republic Airlines in the mid-70s. So we did a lot of traveling. We traveled to, just a lot of good places that we could collect bottles from. I think our first couple trips were to Mexico, and from Mexico we went to places like Hawaii, and we went to Europe, and we went to Japan, and we went to Hong Kong. And every time we went someplace, we looked for some little bottle that seemed to say that country to us. So a lot of the theme type bottles that I'm sure you've got there.
Oh yeah,
were from those kind of locations. And in a lot of the other ones we were still into that thought process, no matter where we were. So even if we were, I don't know, in Washington D.C. or even in Minneapolis,
sure,
we would stop in a liquor store, and we weren't drinkers ourselves. We really weren't.
Okay.
And we'd pick up a handful of those bottles, because in those days you could get them for anywhere from like 50 cents each to maybe $1.50 would be an expensive one. None of them were more than $2 or $3 each. We wouldn't have spent that kind of money.
Yeah, I saw some little price tags on them. It looks like they were pretty affordable back then. And I was going to ask if you drank one as well, or if you bought one to drink and one to collect, or if it was just collection. So it sounds like you just bought them to collect.
Just bought them to collect. Never drank a one. Not even one.
How many would you buy in each location? One or multiples?
Well, we'd buy multiples if we saw multiples that were of interest. You walk through a store and you say, or a bar or a liquor store, and you look at one and you say, well, that's kind of cool. I've never seen one like that. Let's get that one. I know your dad doesn't have that one, so we'll get that one, right?
Yeah.
So it was trying to kind of keep up with the father figure of the time and do him a one step better, because we would have something he hadn't ever seen. And he was a fairly avid collector. I think his collection was at least as big as what you have there, maybe a little bit smaller actually, because he kind of gave that up about the couple years after we started collecting. He stopped collecting. So
okay, yeah.
Read into that what you want.
Sure. Besides location-themed bottles, are there any characteristics of a bottle that you liked, or?
I liked bottles that were shaped differently. Well, like I said before, that soccer ball is kind of cool, or the dancer, and some of the other triangular ones. Anything that didn't look like a standard miniaturized liquor bottle. And there are a lot of those, of course, and anything that had a theme to it. I believe you have two of I can't remember if they're North Central Airlines bottles or Republic Airline bottles, but you have a couple of those. I know there's quite a market out there for them.
We went through these pretty quick, pulling them out of the box. I had some friends over to help me get these on the turntable and packed up again. So we didn't look too closely, but I'll let Lance know to keep his eye out for any airline-related bottles.
I suspect that when you were pulling them out, you were reading some of the newspaper clippings too.
Oh yeah.
When Deb and I pulled them out here a year or so ago, we were as interested in some of the newspapers they were wrapped in as we were at the bottle itself.
Yeah, some of my friends here were looking at some of the car ads in the newspapers, and we were getting a kick out of all those clippings.
Those probably show you when those bottles got wrapped up, which was in the early to the mid 80s.
Yep, that's about what we were seeing. Yeah. Which country do you think had the most interesting bottles?
Well, I don't know. I think when I went to Spain by myself on a what was called a fam trip in those days, and a familiarization trip for the travel industry.
Okay.
And I saw a lot of bottles there that were very interesting. But I think the most interesting bottles were probably in Japan. We went to Tokyo and spent about a week in Tokyo, and then crossed over to Hong Kong from there. But those bottles were all very, very interesting, although I don't remember buying a large quantity of them, because keep in mind, we had to carry them around after we picked them up. And it's not like we could ship them home. We probably could have, but shipping in the mid-70s was not something that they were going to do for you for an inexpensive amount. You pay $2 for a bottle and you spend $20 to ship it home.
Sure.
That wouldn't hardly be worth it.
Right.
But Japan and Hong Kong had some very interesting bottles. So whatever you have from there were probably ones that we bought on the spur of the moment, walking around and seeing them.
Okay. Do you think any of these bottles are rare enough to have any notable value?
I can't answer that. When Deb and I went through the collection, we held out a couple, and I looked them up on the internet and really couldn't find anything about them. Almost the only bottles I could find on the internet were all empty. And I didn't know if that was a big deal or not until I learned that selling full miniature liquor bottles was something you're not supposed to do.
Right.
So that's why I ended up giving these away in the first place.
Okay.
But they're all old. Nothing was bought after '84 that's in that collection.
A lot of these look like they have some wax on the top that's pretty consistent across the bottles. Did you dip those yourself to help preserve them, or did they come like that?
No, we dipped them. Somebody told us somewhere that the liquor in them was going to evaporate if we didn't dip them. So we dipped a lot of them. There's some that we didn't ever do to that too. And you can see that even the ones that have been dipped, sometimes there's an evaporation, even right through the wax.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I hope that's not a problem to them. I'm sure somebody real talented could find a way to get it off. It's just wax.
Right.
It's not, and it's not some kind of sealant in it or anything.
Sure.
It's just wax.
Yeah, I was going to mention that some of these didn't look as full as they probably were when they were purchased. Do you think it was just evaporation out of there?
Just evaporation.
Interesting.
And that's what the wax was supposed to prevent, and yet it didn't do it anyway. So.
Do you think the proof continues to grow over the years on old bottles like this?
I was wondering about that myself. I don't know. I don't drink anything. So I drink a beer now and then. So I don't really know that much about brandies or whiskeys or anything like that. So I don't really know the answer to your question.
That's all right. Tell me about the car. There's a little bottle that looks like a car.
Oh, I wish I could remember where I bought it for you. I do know the one you're talking about, but I honestly don't know where I bought it anymore. What does the tag on it look like?
I don't have it in front of me anymore. I'd have to look back at the video. But it was, a ceramic car, and then it had little wheels. But I found that one
Yeah.
interesting. And then also there was a cannon, a little bottle in like a
Oh,
cannon
yeah.
mount.
Yeah, I think you can actually. I think you can still find those.
Okay. What are you hoping happens with this collection?
Well, I'm hoping that's, if he's gonna. I'm sure a lot of the stuff that's in that collection is very not in demand. Okay,
Sure.
and some of the stuff that is, I hope that he has a display someplace that he's going to put them, or maybe he's got one of those 50 shelf things in his house and he has all these on his wall. Whatever he's doing, I just hope somebody else can look at him and say the same thing you said about the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. See, they
Yeah.
got regular wheels on it, and the cannon and all that kind of those other things that she's not a ballerina exactly. She looks like a Spanish dancer of some sort,
Right.
or Mexican, one of the two. And says, oh, look at that, why would they bottle something like this? I don't know, but if somebody asks questions like that, that's what that kind of stuff is all about.
I think he might try drinking some of these, and some of them look like they're still good to drink. Some of them certainly not. Some of them were pretty foul looking and growing things. It's kind of interesting. Some of them had big chunks, and some were empty. Some had, a third of a bottle left. It's just real interesting how some of them kept well and some didn't.
Yeah, I think there's one or two that has some kind of a fruit inside of it, or
Okay.
I don't know if it's I don't know if it's like an apple piece or a plum or something like that.
Okay.
There were a couple like that, but I don't have a memory of them too well. Can't remember now. That was like 40 years ago. So.
Right. Well, we had a really good time pulling all these out and looking at them. They look great on camera. I'm anxious to share the video with you once it gets all done here. So
I'm anxious to see it. What you already showed me in the, kind of a sideways view of the whole thing. That already intrigued me. I wish I had this set up to do that. I would have taken the original pictures that way.
Right.
I have a collection of everything that was there at one time, all taken with a 35 millimeter camera back in the 70's and 80's. And I have all that stack of pictures, and they were all very faded at this point, of course, and everything like that. But nothing is as nice looking as what you've got there, So,
cool. Well, hey, thanks for joining me and telling us more about these bottles. I think it's just a really interesting collection, and hope you get to enjoy it even after giving it away. So.
I hope so. If he decides to put on a show with his own bottles and throw mine in as a part of the collection, I'd love to come and see it. So.
All right. Well, hey, thanks, Keith, and we'll talk to you later. I'll send you the link when this is done.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you for calling and
Sure.
asking me these wonderful questions.
All right. Have a good one. Take care.
All right.
All right. Bye. If you're viewing this video, which bottle is your favorite? Do you know any more information about any of these brands or bottles? Which ones would you still drink to this day? Which ones would you not? Thanks for watching.